Y'all know we got to go crazy on spring game because we need to overreact and underreact here on the Sooner or Later Sports Show. Happy Sunday, everybody. I am your host, Jay. Thank y'all for pulling up here on the YouTube channel and listening wherever podcasts are downloaded and listened to. While you're here, please do us a favor and wipe your feet. Like, subscribe, rate, review. Give us 5 stars. You don't think we deserve it? Let's go ahead and give us 5 anyway and gift it. We've got the full cavalry and the collective in today, and we're going to dive into the most brutally honest takes when it comes from the spring game, like who was good, also who was bad, and what the heck do we need to do in order to move forward. We're also going to talk about a latest commitment, and it sounds like we got upwards of 5 of those. We'll break that down also as well. So collective, gentlemen, happy Sunday. Thank y'all for pulling up. Coop, what's up? Chris, PG, go around the horn with how's it going today?
PG, knock it off.
Okay, I guess we're going around the horn style. Find me at the PG show. I'm a little sunburned. Went to the softball game today, so ignore my pink lips.
Hey, you guys can find us Horns Down Podcast. A little bit turned after last night. It was a really good night. Spring game weekends for me are always pretty crazy. So yeah, glad to be here.
Heck yeah, glad to have you. Coop.
Yo, hey, all I gotta say is if you watch that weekend and you are grumpy elf, take a long walk outside, eat some fiber. There's a lot of reasons. There's a lot to be happy about today.
I'll tell you something that will really cure any grumpy people out there. Just go and look what's going down there, down south. Go look and see what's going on in Austin.
All the propaganda being put out by our rivals down there. Yeah, we got to talk about that. But what's good, everybody? Thank y'all for pulling up per the norm. We've got a lot of fun stuff to talk about. Let me go ahead and open it up with this, though. I want to go ahead and lead us off with the opening rant. I don't know how this happened. I'm actually kind of a little upset. How in the hell did we lose to Oklahoma? I could have sworn we looked at our schedule and saw that we were going to win this game. I need answers to how we lost to Oklahoma, right? It didn't make any sense. Oklahoma should not have won, and we should not have lost to Oklahoma. It's kind of wild to me that would actually happen to us at a spring game. So, yeah, I'm pretty upset that Oklahoma won that game since we had that notated that we were going to win this one, right? This is something that should have happened. But besides that, we're going to take care of some housekeeping real quick. I mentioned that we have, sounds like upwards of 5 commits potentially. Kevin Sperry tweeted out at least 4 times, 3 of them for his current, class of 25 and 1 of them that's not. And then we got ourselves an offensive lineman in which everybody was, whining about that we needed. We got ourselves a center in Branson Hickman. So we're going to talk about them on the back end of the show because I want to dedicate majority of the time on all of these takes that I know everybody has hot. We're going to start with some offense. We'll break down some of that. We'll go through some of the position groups there. Then we'll go through defense, maybe interchange a little bit, but we'll try to keep it lined up offense, defense, and give you guys some feelings. And so I'll tee us off here on my initial impression. Offensively, keeping it simple. I'm actually satisfied with what we got going on. The offensive line didn't piss me off like I thought they would. The running game gave me maybe a couple of questions here, but we should all be thanking Purdue right now. If you live in Indiana, please drive up to the campus holding a sign saying thank you from us. If you don't live in the area, please send them a postcard. Say thank you. We appreciate you all. You all are fantastic for giving us the opportunity to snatch up Deion Burke. So we'll go around the horn per the norm. PG, give me your first 1 minute or less impression on it, and then we'll go position to position.
Yeah, as you said, the offensive line, played a lot better than I thought they would, based off what you were hearing from scrimmages and practices. I think we expected it to look rough around the edges, but in reality, they played a lot better than I think a lot of people expected. And the defensive line, I was actually impressed with a lot of the depth guys that they have in that room and how they were able to perform, what they looked like. So overall, going into the SEC, I think this program is going to be just fine.
Chris, what's your initial impressions of how things went down?
Said it once and I'll say it again. I'll say it 3 times if I have to. Shout out to my guy Jason on the Hall of Fame football podcast, but definitely will say this: this team has all it takes to be a 10+ win team this year. But PG, I'm sorry, offensive line is going to have to be better. They're going to have to figure some things out going into the SEC. There are obviously there's some missing guys. There's some guys that are not healthy. You just got Hickman today. You got some things that you're going to have to work on. We all trust Beatonbow, but I think going into the SEC is the turn of the next page to the next chapter. We got to be able to field our best unit right off the bat. We can't wait until Texas anymore because we're going to have a lot of heavy hitters. I think that if our O line, and obviously, I'm sorry to sound like a Debbie Downer, but like I said, I said it once, I'll say it twice. Our offensive line is going to have to figure it out, and I think that's the unit I trust more than the special teams. Punting and kicking are still terrible. Like I don't know what to tell you. You're going to lose games on special teams this year simply because I think you'll be a threat in a punt game when you're returning and kickoff returns. But when it comes to punting and kicking field goals, I think they are major liabilities. They have not fixed that yet. So
Okay.
that being said, I mean that's just kind of my initial thoughts right now. Outside of that, I think everything else is fine. You have the true a la competitive depth, right? You have all of the talent in there and everything that you need to be a successful, have a successful entry year into the SEC. But those two things have to be shared up for me to really believe that we can, go and accomplish the things that we're setting out to accomplish.
Coop, give me your 1 minute or less. What's your initial reaction? And then we're going to start right into the offensive line.
Yeah, this was a job interview. This was working out for pro day. This was scripted. There was no blitzes. They didn't run any crazy. They didn't do any three-man fronts. I mean, they ran a pretty base. There was such a mix-up of people. Danny Stutzman almost kills a walk-on receiver, for a first down conversion, and I was like, "Shit, who was that?" And then we realized who it was, and I was like, "Oh, that's okay. We can kill a walk-on receiver." Danny's going to have to back off, but here's what it is we are bigger, we are stronger, we are faster, and we still have stuff to work on. Yeah, 100%. But I asked Mr. Bates to show up and be a man and take this seriously and show me what you got. And I'm happy because he knew Hickman was on campus. And so I love the fact that there was joy in this team and there was so much, the parents, we talked to so many parents this week. And there's just there's a confidence in this team that they're going to go and they're going to take it to people. And so if you're not getting jacked about that kind of stuff, I mean there's a lot to talk about still, but I'm very happy right now.
Good. That's good. And I'm in that same boat or whatnot. I'm satisfied with the offense. I know that we have a lot of questions that honestly got answered to tell us, yes, we need help on, as we're going to begin this, offensive line. We know that we need help there. We got help. We got Hickman coming in. Venables mentioned that Gary and Hatchett will be ready to go here, I think, right at the end of this the school year. So that's two big additions to the line. June-ish. So two big additions to the offensive line that we really needed to get going. And again, health-wise, we expect that Troy Everett will be ready potentially fall camp. I've heard rumors around it being past the out of conference schedule, but there's so many things there that could work. So offensive line wise, interior wise, I didn't really feel a problem there. I felt like the tackles was where we had the most questions, and mainly on that right side. Fabici looked like Fabici Wewu. He was doing a lot of moving on people. I'm not as stressed out as everybody else is on the offensive line because it's Bill Beatonbow. Now, granted, I could be wrong easily, and I will not refute that. but it's Bedenbow. It seems like he finds some magical way to put together a nice set of things out of the kitchen and give you a 4-course gourmet meal that you didn't even know all those ingredients were even in there, right? He just makes something out of nothing, and we got to accept that. So offensive line wise, as we move across it, I'm guessing both Jakes aren't there. Sexton looks like they're playing him interior on the left guard to help Bates. But now we got Hickman. I'm kind of curious to how that's going to go. If they decide to move Bates over into like the guard next, replace Ozeta so that, you know, he can help Hickman learn everything. I'm kind of curious to what that mix could be like. But overall, that's where we need the most work, and we've got one of the best guys doing it, so I'm not too mad. We'll go reverse. Coop, offensive line. Who jumped out to you?
Like I said, I will say spin down looks pretty bad, and this is, guys, this isn't blasting any kids, but he looked bad, and that's frustrating. You know, I've talked to a couple of Michigan State people, and they were like, I mean, get ready, because he's a little bit of a headache. And so, but, you know, I like Jake Taylor. You know, I got to see, you know, a lot out of the offensive line. I came back and watched an abbreviated version of the game late last night, and, you know, it was 40 minutes, and I took about 2 hours to watch it. So, you know, that looked good. I mean, Bates didn't seem like there was anything there. That second line is what bothers me. So, Chris, where I don't entirely agree that the offensive line is a concern, the depth is a concern. Because, you know, I'm not going to sit here and dog Texas to say, like, hey, listen, one offensive line injury and you guys are going to be hurting. Like, we're in that same boat. But Akankumi comes back. You know, again, towards fall camp, you get the other injury guys, and then hopefully, you know, maybe somebody else. But you know, the offensive line, that first unit looked pretty good. Like I said, with mixing in 1s, 2s, and 3s throughout the whole time, you know, it's they did pretty good for that. Now, there were times that the guys were just one, and that's going to happen. But when you're playing each other, anytime you see something good on the defense, you know, everybody's like, oh, what's about the offense? But every time you see some, you know, Deion Burks go down the field, I was like, well, what's up with the defense? When we play ourselves, we're going to beat ourselves too. Kind of the tongue-in-cheek Jay on the opening. So, like I said, I mean, the offensive line still has a lot to work. You know, if we started the season today, I would not be as smiley. But Jay, you and I talked to a couple of people, and the offensive line took a lot of this criticism, and it's put a chip on their shoulder, and they're going out and spending time together. They are learning each other. They're learning more about each other. And so, you know, let's see. You got a lot of smiles, you know, from a lot of the parents, a lot of the younger guys are going to get more play throughout the summer. So, yeah, I mean, if there's a coach that you want to be in charge of that, we got the right one.
To add to that, too, the one thing I like to try to point out on a regular basis, y'all hear me say this a lot, we're young, right? Like, we're very young, and the offensive line is the second lowest amount of snaps we returned from last year, whereas the defensive line, especially defensive line is the least that we've returned. Actually, it's vice versa. Offensive line is the least we've returned, or defensive line is second, right behind it. So, least amount of snaps. So it looks like it, right? It looks like these guys don't have the snaps, and hence why you saw the rotations of the players we got, because literally we're just getting them snaps now at this point at a quote-unquote pace that feels like a game, right? Chris, offensive line, I know that you've got super concerns, but who jumped out to you that you feel like is fine? And then where do you think we need to really fix?
I mean, obviously the interior looked pretty damn good, and I mean they had those spurts or whatnot. And then you saw a lot of action from from Hicks, from Sawchuck. You saw them be able to get loose. You saw Franklin be able to bob and weave and be able to move through the trash as well. So you saw some really good interior play. But that's kind of my concern. And Coop, I would go back to kind of your point, is simply this right here. For the last 2 or 3 seasons, we've came in with an offensive line that was strong at either tackle or interior was supposed to be good, but it was just that unit, right? It
Yeah.
was it was never like the complete offensive line all the way across the board. And I'm not saying that's what needs to happen, but for the last couple of years, it's just been frustrating seeing Andrew Rain be your center and see the obvious strength and just or lack of that, lack of that aggressiveness, this physicality, stuff like that. You're thinking that, okay, Savion Bird, this guy, that guy is going to be able to step up and be those guys, just never materialized. And so now to go out and get some of the guys that you did in the portal, guys with experience, because I've said it, I feel like not only do you have a lot of talent, because uh, um, Eddie Pierre Lewis, Luis, however you say it. Then you got Autry, you got Eugene Brooks, you got guys on that line that you're really excited about as far as their future here with this program. But to go and get Tarquin, to get the Hatchet, now get Hickman, guys like that. I expect this offensive line to be a complete product by the time that we get to Temple, simply because I know who the coach is and I know what coach he's going to give, and I know the talent. And so I just feel like this isn't the first year. This isn't 2022 when we're trying to just be cool and we got, some holdovers and different things like that. This isn't 23 where we're going on a redemption tour. It's 24. We got to set a tone going into the SEC, and it's got to be physical in the trenches. And I think you're going to, this is not me being doom and gloom saying that we're going to be bad. I think we're a 10 game win season, 10 game win team anyway, simply because I saw things from Jackson Arnold that helps me feel comfortable at night. Meaning, whenever I watch a quarterback, especially in his second year or his first year, right? When I watch a quarterback, I'm looking for pocket presence. Is he running out of the pocket too early, doing the Spencer Rattler thing, or is he trying to bob and weave, moving through the traffic himself, moving up in the pocket and try to find guys and do different things like that? That's the stuff that I'm looking for, and I see the progressions that he's making in his development, so that helps me feel better. Then also, I would be a fool not to think that Seth Luttrell is not going to be running a lot of stuff with Bauer Sharp and running heavy sets when Jake Roberts or Caden Helms or any of those guys get healthy as well, where you're seeing, hopefully it'd be nice to see OU finally use twin sets if they ever could again. But at the same time, I think you're going to see heavy personnel out there. So there are things to look for, but I just feel like as the offense as a whole, offensive line with what you have on campus right now, there ain't no excuse that I can make for you. But it's spring, so I'll say that.
And that's fair. PG, who jumped out to you, and what concerns come to you as well for this offensive line?
Yeah, I mean, Weiwu, I think, is the guy that stands out the most, and he's the guy that you've heard a lot about. He's the guy that you expect to be the All-American, and I want to break it down for people by the numbers. And here's why I don't believe this offensive line, if you don't get anybody else outside of Hickman, is going to be that bad. Because I texted a OU mom yesterday, and I said, your offensive line is probably going to look like Hickman, Heath Ozeda, Weiwu, Tarquin, and Sexton. That's probably what you're rolling out in the fall. Jacob Sexton, last year, not his best year. He had a 52.6 pass block, but the year before that, which was his really good year, he was 84.2. So he's probably going to be somewhere in the middle, and somewhere in the middle is pretty good. Weiwu last year, 60.5 on the grade for pass block and 75.5 in the run block. That gave him a 70.4 overall. And Tarquin, when this guy was at Florida, he was phenomenal. But even last year at USC, he was graded out total at a 62.8, so you get him back playing at a position that he's used to playing, Tarquin probably performs a little bit better for you. So I think this offensive line for Oklahoma, by just inserting Hickman as a replacement for your center with those guys, that's a good, serviceable starting five for you up on the front. And it's likely going to be an offensive line that's going to give Jackson Arnold lots of coverage because they all have pretty decent pass block grades.
That's fair. And it's very fair at when you look at the numbers itself and how actual solid they came out. And so I like that. Let's go on to the quarterback. Jackson Arnold, Michael Hawkins, General Booty. Guys.
Booty second string, baby. He's the second string quarterback.
Hey, man, look, I mean, that's a great hot take, but I'm going to keep it a buck, though. Jackson Arnold, Chris, you made mention of this, and I appreciate you pointing this out. He looked comfortable in the pocket for the most part, right? He had his moments where that defensive line was really getting their pressure in, but for the most part, he didn't freak out. Like, I didn't see him trying to get rid of the ball instantly or panicking. It looked comfortable. And so he finished the game 10 for 20, 233, 2 touchdowns. And, of course, the relationship with his wide receiver seems to be amazing because this literally reminds me of last season with Gabriel and Andrell Anthony. It's just, you just out of nowhere, the transfer guy comes in and dominates. We'll talk about them next. But I'm going to say this. I got a quick hot take on it. Hawkins didn't look all that great numbers-wise, 5 for 12. But he looked good in the pocket, right? You got to remember who he had. He had the second string piecemeal line that he had to work with. He moved well. He looked down the field and was throwing it. I think we're safe with the second string this year. I think we don't have any reasons to be overly concerned like we're used to, right? We typically are. We were nervous last year, right? For the most part, because Jackson was a freshman. Year before that, we were terrified, which we showed that against Texas. We look so much better with our quarterback depth. And then, of course, Booty got some runs in. He ran in for a touchdown. That boo was wiggling everywhere, which I'm pretty impressed with. We'll go with you, Chris. We'll start off, man. How'd you feel about Jackson Arnold? Elaborate more on your statement about how you like the way his pocket presence.
Man, his poise was there. 10 for 20. I'm just going to be honest with you. That's a lot of people not even mentioning the fact that he had a couple of drops. There was a bunch of drops out there. I say bunch. There were a few key drops out there on some plays. But as far as being able to see the field, see his guys open, I thought the timing and everything was fine. Only downside that I saw was that he took a couple of coverage sacks. Guys just weren't open, but I think that just comes with time, just figuring things out. But as far as timing on the passes with his receivers, being able a good connection, it looks like he has. Now, I know that Burks was the focal point, but it looks like he has a really good relationship with Gibson as well, which I mean, I can't say enough about Gibson. I mean, night and day. I mean, he looks way different than what he did last year. And that's what the college game is really about, man. And take that from somebody who played it, went through all the mental hurdles and all the rest of that stuff. If you have your confidence, it doesn't matter about the Alamo Bowl again. So, with Jackson Arnold, if you have your confidence there, ain't nothing you can do. You already done it. You've done the hard part, getting the scholarship. You've done the hard part. Now you're on the field. Now go ball out. But with Jackson Arnold, I feel like the throws, everything. I mean, it's all that I can ask for. Thank you, DG, for everything that you did. But it's time to go and win something now for sure. I'm talking about more than just a Big 12 or SEC championship. I think that Jackson Arnold showed me everything that I needed to see yesterday, and I think that he's going to be terrific this year. And I definitely think that those lists where he's top 20 quarterbacks and he's number 17, I think that's crazy. I'll just leave it at that.
Losing their minds on that one. PG, talk to me. Jackson Arnold, Michael Hawkins, General Booty, even a little bit of Brendan Zurbrugg. He got a little bit of action. How you feeling about that?
Yeah, and Zurbrugg had a pretty impressive pass on that last drive. But no, I mean, second string quarterback, I think it's a real actual quarterback battle. And it's going to be interesting to see when Casey Thompson gets back. Does he actually cement himself as the second string, or is this guy going to be more of like a quarterback's coach that's kind of on the team, helping guys out? Does Hawkins take that role? That's kind of what I'm curious to see is when Casey Thompson comes back, what does the storyline change to? Because honestly, I would like to see Hawkins get redshirted. I would like to not have to play him outside of maybe just a few games this season, even if Jackson Arnold is out for at least one game, right? I would rather see Booty or Casey Thompson out there rather than having to burn a red shirt for Michael Hawkins. So, but I think the quarterback's position is going to be really well. I mean, Jackson Arnold's going to have a lot of weapons, and we saw that in this game. So he just didn't put up Arch Manning type numbers.
Yeah, he wasn't just super perfect, and I don't feel like we scripted it for him to do that. Coop?
Yeah, I'm glad somebody else feels that way, that maybe that was a little scripted.
Hey, a couple people have pointed out that some things looked like they were done on purpose, but I
Did you
digress.
see his
Coop,
first pass
quarterback
of the game?
wise,
His first touchdown pass of the game, and that looked like that DB gave up really early.
right? Coop, QB, who you feeling about these guys?
I mean, Casey Thompson is what we didn't have year one with CG. And so that is somebody who knows what they need to do. So I just say Jackson throws the ball different. If you have not listened to Oklahoma Breakdown yet, I hate Gabe for stealing my thunder on this one, but I think I looked at Jay when he overthrew Burks, and I thought that might be the first time that Burks has ever been overthrown, because there's no more moon shots on deep balls. To where you're like, geez, I'm glad we're not at Cowboy Stadium, because that would have hit the Jumbotron. But Jackson just throws a dart. And, with that, he has the opportunity to really, wait a little bit longer to make sure that he's got a good look. But Deion Burks looks like an absolute star. And I can't even begin to think how that's going to help Jackson, especially with when everybody else comes back. But yeah, so 10 for 20. And so Jackson did notice a couple of times to where he went through his reads, and I know 2 of the times where he threw the ball on the ground, kind of like when a penalty gets called and the quarterback just tosses it at the ground. He did 3 of those. And I like that, because he looked around, instead of forcing something, he just lived to fight another day. It was tough. He looked a lot bigger, like as far as his just physical stature, and he also looks pretty quick. I mean, when he was running around, it was terrific. Hawkins, I would say this is, you want him to go. You take a seat, get his 4 games in. The family understands how things are going. Michael, grew up in an NFL locker room, so he knows all of those things. So we are in that spot. Jackson needs to continue to go up. He's going to have to make quicker decisions on, when they do have an RPO piece. But I don't know when I felt better going into a season than I do now at quarterback, and we've got lots of talent behind him too. So, if anything does happen, hopefully, we get the opportunity to see Casey Thompson. How's Casey Thompson going to look with this receiving core and the tight end and the running back? Hope not. I hope our offensive line could hold up if he ever came in. But it looks good across the board.
Jay.
Yeah, and go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say 2 things real quick, just to piggyback off of what Coop was saying. I was sitting there next to my uncle, and when he was, throwing those touchdowns to Burks, I kept screaming, in stride. Oh my God, He didn't have to slow down. But second thing I want to say is, man, first off, shout out to Casey Thompson, because coming back from an ACL, especially playing, quarterback, even going through a lot of these non-contact drills, because we know the Bridgewaters of the worlds and stuff like that. Shout out to him even being out there on the field.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
I think Casey Thompson is going to be great for us in whichever role. But Coop, I'm not going to lie. When I was looking at Hawkins, I was thinking to myself, I was like, man, we may not redshirt him simply because he may give us an option in the red zone. That's really true. Only depends if our offensive line isn't great, I guess. But I'm thinking maybe you want to do like some speed option or something like that. Some design runs for him. I think you utilize his speed if you can. But I think
a jet sweep. Could we do a jet sweep with Michael Hawkins?
I'm gonna go ahead and kick you off the panel for that. I'm just gonna go ahead. It's been great having you, Coop.
It was the second play on the second team. Jay and I said it right before. It was funny. I was like, wouldn't it just be funny just to throw shade at Levy to just run jet sweep first play of the game? And we didn't do it. And then the second team offense came out and they did. And I was like, That's awesome.
Just want you to know, OU fans will be ready to call for Luttrell and Finley's head if they do that in the season. If they do that in this season, their heads will be called for because OU fans ain't having it.
I really hope that we just go ahead and troll and do that the first play. I mean, why not? May as well. Sound like fun to me, right?
Yep.
Oh no. I'm just saying. But anyway, from there, love that talk on the quarterback stuff. Hey, y'all, hop in the comments. Let us know y'all thoughts. We appreciate y'all. We see the interactions going. Fantastic stuff. We'll pull y'all in as we see fit. I want to go ahead and just jump right to that wide receiver room because I've been playing this video just because I just love it so much. And as I watch it every single time, it just, puts this massive, smile on my face as I watch this dude. Deion Burks is that dude. I'm just going to have to say that. Deion Burks is the dude, right? Like, nothing about him tells me that he ain't. As we go into wide receivers, y'all, it's funny that this is our second transfer dude that's been able to walk in there and just be like, yeah, this is what I want. But we also didn't have Nick Six. He didn't play. Jane Gibson was catching some tough passes, right? He was doing his part. And then you saw ginormous Ivan Carry-On. I don't know if y'all noticed him down there at the bottom. Dude's huge. I didn't realize he was that big. Like, he looks solid. So, yeah, make sure y'all send postcards, send letters. Thank Purdue for their contribution to the future of Sooner civilization with the Deion Burks piece because, again, Coop even mentioned this, and I'm going to let him say his statement in a bit. He was talking about it at the game, but, man, Burks is going to change the game for us. So we'll go with you, Coop. How'd you feel about these wide receivers?
I mean, Burks is him. And if anybody was wondering how stupid I was for saying I think Burks is a first-round draft pick wide receiver, now, I'm going to back it back a little bit. Burks he is that good. He is that fast. Now, Jaden Hardy took an absolute god-awful angle. I think they were in cover 3. And he took a bad angle, and the other one, Kanik, dropped the wrong way. So, obviously, if you don't have a player where you're supposed to have a player during cover 3, Chris, it ain't going to work too well. And so, but Burks' most impressive were not the deep balls. There were some overs that two of his catches, Jackson Arnold hit him in dadgum stride, and it was beautiful. Listen, I'm not going to – he's good. Ivan Carry-On. If we invited him into the chat or into the screen, Ivan's body would be like, hey, guys, thanks for inviting me to the podcast. I really appreciate it because, it's humongous. And he looks like when you had the college football games of old and you try to create your own player and you made your wide receiver.
He looks like a creative player.
He looks like that, and especially in that 24 jersey. I mean, it just looks like somebody recreated Marcus Major at 6'6". But we saw him come up. He came up right in front of us right before we went down on the field, and he's just enormous. And so I would say that. I would say, you got Kearney. We got to talk to his parents for a little bit too. And, he had a pretty bad drop, but, he looks great out there. Jaden Gibson and Deion Burks are going to create some personal fouls because it is absolutely crazy just to think that those guys were jawing at everybody. Gibson was bouncing. He was one of the captains for the offense, and he's bouncing and he's talking trash for the coin flip. It was beautiful. Burks is talking trash. I think was it Burks and Kenai Walker got in it several times, and the official actually pushed them apart. And I'm like, damn, it reminded me of Kobe Bryant just dunking on Pau Gasol. So this wide receiver room, I mean, Jay, have you ever considered maybe getting Emmett Jones a raise? Because Emmett Jones needs a raise.
I've been thinking about it. I felt like it's probably some good conversation that we should do that. We should totally talk about him getting a raise. Chris, when you see the wide receiver room and what they were doing, man, what's good?
Man, hey, look, I first off, let me begin with this right here. The look the caliber and the quality of the player, but especially the look, man, you gotta give it to Smitty, man, because Smitty is doing his damn thing, bro. Like year 3 is crazy. Um, but I want to touch on Carry On first, man. Coming into the season, I was like, oh yeah, he's just gonna be a guy, project guy, probably end up moving to tight end. No. He runs fluid. He's smooth when he runs. To be honest with you, he may not be as fast as he is, but he runs better. His run style is better than Gibson. I was like, no, he's a wide receiver. He's a complete wide receiver. He's only going to get better. I was like, that's going to be crazy. I'm over here screaming, and in my mind, I'm screaming. I'm like, Seth Luttrell, Joe John, please, when we get down there in the red zone, please, let's not do this whole thing of Burks on the outside and Andrell Anthony on the other outside and try to speed these guys. No, put Gibson, Anderson, and Carry On the field. Put Bauer Sharp over there in the slot. Let's go. Like, let's get it. Like, what are we doing? We don't have to do all of that. Throw fades. You could throw them to those guys. But outside of that, man, I would just say I thought the wide receiver group as a whole, they look good. Even with what we saw yesterday, good mix of the younger guys or whatnot. I know what I'm going to get from Farouk. I feel like I know what I'm going to get from Anthony when those guys are back, and I know what I'm going to get from Nick Anderson as well. So my whole thing is that I'm like, okay, this is great because you're going to put a lot of dudes on islands. And I think what people are going to try to do to Jackson Arnold this year, they're going to try to run a lot of zone or try to disguise it and have zone concepts in there because they're going to say, well, it worked in the Alamo Bowl. Why can't it work now? I don't think you do that simply because this is not a Levy offense to where your third downs and some of your second downs are slants. Those are not going to be your go-to routes. It's going to be dudes running all open down the field. And he has the arm strength to burn you, and he has the arm strength to get situated very quick. And last thing, but he's not going to have those freshman mistakes or that Alamo Bowl game mistakes. Excuse me, I don't know why I can't talk today, but still, wide receiver room look really good. And they look athletic. That's the thing. They look really athletic. So I'm excited about it. Yeah, I think the best is yet to come.
Yeah, and I understand why you couldn't get the words going, man. You're just dumbfounded by how elite this wide receiver room looks, right? It's probably it is definitely our strongest room right now.
Yeah.
And we just got to see. Well, I say it's our second strongest. Honestly, I think the secondary is the strongest at this point when I really look back on it. But we'll talk about them in just a minute. PG, wide receivers, man.
Man, I'm really excited to see what this wide receiver room is going to look like when you get Deion Burks and Andrell Anthony out there.
Can we just Nick?
Or can we just do Andrell Anthony, Deion Burks, and Brennan Thompson all together? Just let them streak down the field and see who's going to stop them. Because I guarantee you, in a Hail Mary situation, you aren't going to be able to cover all three of them.
No, I think you're right, and I actually have three lineups that I'm really excited to see. Like one, we did have a JJ Hester sighting. So you got 6'4" Hester, put 6'4" Nick Anderson, 6'5" Gibson, and then 6'6" Carry On all out there at the same time. I'm trying to figure out who's going to stop a jump ball there, right?
Yeah.
Who's going to have somebody that's going to handle that portion. Plus, we all know three of them are fast. We got to just see what Carry On can do as far as like a straight line. That's the interesting thing there. And then as you mentioned that lineup, you've got Burks, Petaway, put in Brennan Thompson and Andrell Anthony if he's back to, at least 95% of himself. 4 more burners out there to just, outrun everybody.
That's how Emmett Jones has to sell playing time in this room, right? Like, hey, some games you might not get as much, but other games you're going to get a lot. It's going to be all dependent on matchups, baby. And, it's going to be a lot of fun this year. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I agree with that one, and modern day caveman makes his great point here. Seth Luttrell threw him on a reverse / jet sweep and had everybody a little bit on the perturbed side. Totally agree. Think Seth Luttrell need to do a little bit better thing on that. But let's move on. Running back room and tight ends. We'll put them together to wrap up the offense. Real talk. Keeping it a buck. Keeping it funky. Caleb Hicks might be something, man. Like, okay, I know that we didn't see Javonte Barnes. There was a statement out there about Barnes was they didn't play him because of opportunities or something. I've seen some reports go around. It seemed weird. But I'll say this, man. Caleb Hicks might be solidifying himself as the dude next to Sawchuk. I think Sawchuk's going to be RB1 just because of what he did last season. And, he finished the season 5 straight 100-yard games. He got himself back to where we thought he was going to be at the beginning of the year. We look healthier now. The question is with Barnes and how bad things were with his foot. Kind of curious on it, but at the same time, the rumors are flowing around that he's probably going to hit the portal. I don't know. If he does, totally understood. Because I think Hicks, man, might be somebody that's going to be a problem. Chris, we'll start with you. This running back room. And also tight ends. Bauer Sharp's a big dude. And I saw that one play where I think Ethan Downs got him on the edge. Totally saw that. I also saw him beat Ethan Downs on a block on the edge, like a play in or whatnot. Shout out to Barry Wise over there, Barry and Mac. He posted a video of that, and I was like, oh, yeah. It was a good battle between the edges and Bauer Sharp the entire game. So I can't be mad. I kind of wish we would have thrown it to them, but I do think one thing, and I'm going to pass this to you, Chris. I think we didn't use the tight ends for a reason, for the most part, because why show your hand if you ain't got to, right? We got all these wide receivers. Show people what they are going to be excited about. Running the ball with Caleb Hicks, Sam Franklin, as well as all the wide receivers. You can let Bauer Sharp and them show out later. How'd you feel about the running backs as well as those tight ends?
Okay, so first off, running backs, I thought I thought it looked really good. I thought Sawchuk, I know what Sawchuk is going to give me. I'm kind of, obviously, I think we're all, let me start with this. I think all four of us are waiting for Taylor Tatum to get on the, let's just be real. We're waiting for him to see if the hype is real and to see if he can really insert himself into the lineup, into this rotation. But with what we saw yesterday, I would say this. I think Sawchuk is solid. I think Sawchuk is going to be Sawchuk. I think Caleb Hicks. Jay, I've been a big Caleb Hicks fan since he got to campus. I thought everybody was screaming for Hollywood last year. I thought it was him. I said, hey, man, he came in here, workman-like mentality, head down, was ready to work. And you saw some of the moves last year early on. I know it was Arkansas State, but that was still a hell of a move for a freshman. One of his first reps in the game, right? Got a touchdown. But seeing him this year, no, he has a chance to really burst on the scene. He would be my early pick for breakout player of the year. Breakout player for this team simply because I think the world of the kid. And I think that he's going to be really, really big for us. And I think he's going to be kind of that tweener as far as being a kind of a power back as well when you need it. Sam Franklin, solid, extremely solid. I think he's a guy that will steal snaps, be out there. I think you're going to see a lot of him as well. I feel really comfortable with the three running backs that we saw really play the majority of the first half. I think in Megway, he looks great, and I think that the talent is still there. Hopefully, the knee and everything is healed up. So, it gives you another solid addition. Once you get Taylor Tatum on the on campus, that gives you about 4 or 5 running backs that you feel like you can really depend on. Barnes, I don't know what that situation is about. Heading over to the tight ends, I would say this right here, watching the breakdown. I'm sure that Coop is going to talk about it as well. Look, I definitely don't think that you had to show your hand yesterday because the tight ends are going to be a huge part of this offense. Okay, those little split buff zones and those split zones, different things like that. Those looks that he's wanting to give you, Latrell. He's going to put 2 tight ends on out there, and you don't know what they're going to be doing. Hell, it's going to feel like playing against somebody who really knows what they're doing at Madden, right? You're going to have those tight ends running those seam routes, run a little skinny post, different things like that. You're going to see a lot of the tight end be featured in this offense this year in a variety of ways. I can't wait for people to see that split buff zone when Jackson Arnold, Michael Hawkins, somebody is running down the sideline for a 40-yard touchdown simply because everybody picked up their block and executed their assignment. So, I think that the tight end room is going to be really good. I can't wait for – he still looks raw out there simply because it feels like he's still getting acclimated to this offense, learning, and everybody's pace is different. But gosh, Devon Mitchell, man, he is going to be a beast, man. The
He's
kid,
huge.
and the thing about it is that it's kind of inconsistent how he runs because he looks so light on his feet, but he's so heavy, man. I'm like, man, I don't know. I was like, he's kind of going to be in that category of like a Ethan Downs trying to really find his playing weight as far as what he wants to play at. But once he gets all of that situated, man, that kid is going to be special, dude.
I can see that. I'm with you on that one. And Chuck, totally, I get you on the need to gameplay. That's not an argument. I think you're right on that portion of it. I 100% agree. But some of the videos and stuff we've seen of what those tight ends have done in practice kind of makes me say, I feel like they were holding back. It just feels like it. Now, at the same time, you're right. The good thing is we have 3 out-of-conference games at the beginning of the year, and it looks like Houston's gutted again. And I don't think Tulane's going to be a problem yet because they're, quote-unquote, rebuilding for the most part in Temple. We should be able to walk. We should be able to sleepwalk through that game. So we'll get that at that point, especially in fall camp. You know, just got to make sure we stay healthy. PG, over to you. Running backs and tight ends. What just made you be like, pow, or a rebuttal to somebody else? What you got?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect to see a ton of the tight ends because, I mean, we've heard so much about our Sharp, but I didn't really feel like the staff would want to put anything on film for your opposing teams to see in the fall. So I don't know if I really expected to see a ton of tight ends. Now, I thought maybe we would see Caden Helms dressed up, but he was just in his jersey, so I guess he's still not able to play full contact. So I guess maybe I was just off on that one. But running backs, what have I been trying to tell y'all about Caleb Hicks? Man, I love this kid. And the one thing I love about his game is he's patient. Like, he will wait for the hole to develop, and then he's going to burst through it. He almost gives me kind of like that Kennedy Brooks vibe. If you guys remember, like, Kennedy Brooks would almost wait too long for the hole to develop, and then he would run right through it. And that's what I think you're going to get with Caleb Hicks. But Caleb Hicks has got, I'm not going to say track speed, but it's pretty close to it. And then, yeah, you got Gavin Sawchuk. We saw what he was able to do last year. And then I'm on board with George Stoya. BV's answer with Barnes was absolute BS. Like, something's going on.
Yeah.
You
know what you have in Sawchuk too, and
Yeah.
so
if anything, you would want to see more out of Barnes because you didn't get a chance to see Barnes healthy last year, right? So
I mean, it's
you
fair.
feel like you'd want to see Barnes, not Sawchuk. And so I don't know. Something's going on there, and I think Eddie said it. He goes, maybe Barnes doesn't transfer. This is like the greatest thing we've ever seen at running back, and they're just going to throw him out there in the fall. I just don't think that's going to happen. I think Barnes is probably out at this point, which, I mean, they got to get down in scholarship. So you're going to lose somebody somewhere, and running back is one of those rooms where we have a lot of guys. Like, you have a lot of depth. And like you guys said, Taylor Tatum's coming in. I'm not sold on Taylor Tatum being a guy that's going to get a ton of snaps this year. I think they'll let him kind of focus on baseball and kind of just be there when he's needed because, I mean, you've got so much talent there this year. You don't absolutely have to throw him into the fire for, 10 snaps a game.
I mean, if Tatum is as good as advertised, you do, and then we did see Xavier Robinson, and it looked like it was really hard for the people to tackle him as well, right? That's one player that I felt like was a little underrated in it. The couple snaps I saw him get, I'm just like, oh, yeah, you're not going to fall, are you? Like, you literally do not want to hit the ground. And he had 8 carries for 27 yards, only averaging 3.8, but it was really hard for them to tackle him. And I think that gets better as the line gets better. And so, Coop, on the backs, tight ends, how you feeling? Any rebuttals? What you thinking?
Caleb Hicks is that guy. And if you go back and watch, you go back to that game. There was one point where they did an RPO, and it was a little bit of a fumble, and he had a blitzer screaming right at him, and he stepped up and he stonewalled. And I didn't see who it was, but it was, I mean, a hell of a pass block. Like, that's what I was kind of worried about was, typically when you see a younger kid who can't make it on the field, you hear these great running the ball. It's the pass protection, but it looked terrific, and he did such a great job. And so there's that. I think that I mean, again, Brent Venables not going to come out and be like, "Hey, Javante Barnes is transferring out," right? Because there's no need for that. So he did. I mean, I think he did cover, and you're going to find out. So we didn't need to Brent Venables to tell us like Javante didn't want to play, and he's making his way out because maybe it's not. Oh, it wasn't McKenzie. So I mean, if he stepped up and he stonewalled McKenzie, that's McKenzie's freaking humongous. Humongous. He is the second most surprised I was on that. Second most surprised that to see what they physically looked like. Xavier got out there. Xavier didn't look terrific, but he was with a mixed match second and third string offensive line.
Yep.
And guys, he was getting hit immediately. McKenzie should, not McKenzie, but he should be at his high school still. So let's just calm down. Xavier Robinson is a freshman. He's going to get bigger. I saw some people maybe dropping some crap about Devon Mitchell maybe looking slow. Again, that kid should be a senior in high school right now. He reclassified. He has good body movement. And I will say this last thing about the tight ends. Guys, if there was any pump the brakes on the tight end stuff and whatnot, all it took was for the hit on Sharp from Bogo to them, like maybe we should open it up a little bit. Then Sharp gets drilled, and they're like, maybe we shouldn't open it up a little bit. And so we saw also Jay, Cade McIntyre. He's another guy that just is a freak of nature too. And I think here we go. We have the opportunity with tight ends. We've got a lot of different guys with a lot of different skill sets. And how long until we have to count carry on in there too? So,
Well,
running.
I don't
if
think
you're
he
freaking
plays
out about,
tight end.
yeah, he's humongous, and again, we if he beefs up anymore, it might have to happen. Then that'd be really weird looking at.
You say what?
He'll be a flex tight end. Like if you want to run an extra receiver, you could run him as a flex tight end.
Possibly. The question is, what's his ability to block on the inside? Right. I think that's where you have those questions around putting carry on at that. I haven't seen him blocking as a tight end in tight end type schemes. That's where I would have a concern. Now I can see him going as a wide receiver, going in motion and then rubbing or blocking somebody that way, with a little bit of speed, full speed ahead on as he goes. But at the same time, it just doesn't sound smart to me at this point, but you never know. Could be something. Man, we spent like 50 minutes talking offense. Now it's time to get to the fun part. The one that everybody wants to lose their minds on outside offensive line is going to be defense, right? So make sure y'all hit that like button if you're new to the channel. Subscribe. Also rate, review if you're listening to the audio version of this. And thank y'all for pulling up as usual. Let's talk defense. Coop, I'm going to pass to you first. I'm going to let you choose what position we're going to start off with. Give us your quote-unquote open
safety.
All right, go for it. Lead the way. We'll end it with the defensive line.
We talked about safety being a strength of this team, and it almost makes my eyes water. So funny story. So Jay and I are under the tunnel, and we're talking to Isaiah Autry-Dent's dad and Powers, and then Bogo's dad comes down, and Jay and Bogo's dad are talking, and I'm watching the TV screen, and I was like, oh, your boy just crushed somebody. And then he looks me straight in the eye and goes, yeah, but did you see the missed tackle he had? And I was like, oh. And it was the one where Jackson got touched, and then he kind of just flicked it out, and Bogo just, crushes somebody. And then he has them. So Bogo he is just another one of these freaks of nature that makes Brandon Hall. I mean, without Emmett Jones, I think we would be talking a lot more about Brandon Hall, because Brandon Hall needs a raise. You didn't even have your All-American safety out there. Peyton Bowen is just out there roaming around doing Peyton Bowen things. But the younger guys like Hardy and Boganowski, even Eli Bowen running back out there. That safety room is just absolutely exciting to watch, and I'm here for it. And we are now recruiting guys who want to hit folks, and so it is when you see Bogo, when you're like, bro, you remember that these are your teammates, right? Like, it fires me up. I love him. I love him. I love him. I love him. And meeting his dad, we see where he gets it from, right? He wants to arrive with violence. And we were talking to a couple. I think it was his father when we were talking about it, and he said, you know what? We've got this whole group wants to hit you. And Jay brought up and said, yeah, I mean, exactly. You are making business decisions quite often when you catch the football over the middle. So if you're wondering what's this going to look like when Billy Bowman leaves, I'm pretty sure that we can sit back on the safety room.
Yeah, that's the room that of course excites me because of the return of the production. Robert Spears-Jennings was out there; he was getting his hits in, which excited me as well. So you get Spears-Jennings back, and that's that experience and that ability to hits there. You see Boganowski, little Boga out there, just leveling folks. And it's funny because you said that when I was we was on the field. I saw him. I was like, "Hey, man," talking to him and his dad. I'm like, "Hey, man, can you stop kind of killing your teammates? I mean, I want you to hit, but just don't kind of kill your teammates." And he smiled. He was like, "I got you, man. I got you." Because we all know what was going to happen, because that was great. I think it was Bates that ran up on him when I think he hit Caleb Hicks a little later in that play. Yep. And Bates ran up on him and got his grill, which, one, I love that they're holding each other accountable for that. He also hit Bauer Sharp. Was that him that hit Bauer Sharp? Or was that one of the linebackers?
Yeah, it was him that hit Bauer Sharp.
It seems like Boga was everywhere. Everywhere you looked, if there was somebody getting leveled, it was him. I did not realize he hit like that because, of course, I knew Reggie Powers was going to do that. RP3 was definitely going to be that dude.
I didn't even mention Reggie.
To level people, because he has a whole mixtape of him just leveling people, which is, we all love that. I did not realize that Boga was also a big-time hitter. So now that we have both, I'm just like, all right. And then Robert Spears-Jennings is known for hitting, which is why he kind of had some injury issues back in the day. Love the fact that now he's really good on that. And like you said, Bowman is what? We'll say we probably won't see him until fall camp, which is fine. We don't need him at this point. Is always a question is what it's going to look like if they want to try to preserve Bowman for more so the SEC games. Of course, they'll get him out there, get him in the game shape he needs to be in or whatnot. But if they're going to try to preserve him, which that'll even lead me to the linebackers in a minute. But yeah, man, safety room. Hardy actually looked pretty solid too. Again,
yes,
I feel like we've got the experience we need. Chris, talk to me, man. Safety room and DBs, if you want to go into it, talk to me.
I mean, you know how I feel about the DBs, man. I think the DBs look really good out there. I think they look solid. Eli Bowen, I'm really impressed with Eli Bowen, man. Like Eli Bowen is gonna be really, really good. Kind of like my uncle said when we were all talking out there. I think I would probably push him back towards the safety role, more of the safety role, just to kind of his ball hawk skills and everything. I think that would be dangerous, having the Bowen brothers potentially be your safeties back there eventually. Just those instincts alone could be crazy. And that's simply because I kind of like my taller, more I wouldn't say more athletic, but my taller like DBs to be out there, as far as my corners. I really like Vickers, man. I think Vickers is solid. I think Vickers is learning what it takes to play like that. You guys are giving B Hall a lot of credit, and deservedly so, but that whole mentality of DBs hitting people, that's Valai all day. And so
that's a Valai thing. Yeah.
Valai has went out there and recruited those type of guys. Des Malone, we got to see a couple of looks from him. We got to see, like I said,
him and Kanai kind of both look like vets out there. I'm not going to lie.
Kanai is another guy. Like I said, yesterday when we were talking about this, Jason and I said this about Kanai Walker. I said, hey, only problem that I had with Kanai last year was that down the stretch, especially when we needed him and he was out there in the Kansas game, is that towards at some point his technique gets a little bit sloppy. and he tries to just really go out there and out talent you, and that's not going to work all the time. So I want to know if those things have been fixed, because the kid is a hell of a talent. Dolby, all those guys, I feel like you have a really, really good DB room, and I think that it's only going to make things better. Where I would kind of tend to what I want to put some focus on is the D line, and just say, hey, the D line is better than what it has been advertised to be. Okay, because I think what a lot of people need to understand is that, yeah, we may not have the 6'6", 6'5" guys right there in the middle, but we have guys that everybody on this panel and everybody in this chat was excited about getting at some point.
Right.
I think that, yes, a Dominic Williams and
we'll get to D-line in just a minute. We're going to focus here, as I said, safeties and corners. We're going to close with D-line because that's the one everybody wants to talk about. Yes.
All right.
Yeah, let's say that one. Real quick, Sting-Ass Cat. Hey, man, appreciate the $20. And, yeah, please hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Show some love. Pseudo Legends, shout out to you. Yeah, Bugs. His name alone. This sounds like greatness, man. Thanks for the 5. That's exactly what it feels like, right? PG, safeties, corners. One thing I want to add to that. Saw Jaden Rowe on the field. We had a Jaden Rowe sighting. Yes, he's huge. I didn't realize he was that big of a human being. I walked up to him. I'm like, dog, man, like, how you so big? And he started laughing. And I realized one of his fam in the stands is somebody knew from high school. And I'm just like, oh, wait, y'all relate. The crazy part is Jaden Rose, ginormous human being. He's big. Like, he's wide. He's tall. Like you said, Chris, I like to have my big corners out there on the outside with speed. I need that. He said his shoulder's good. He's healthy. His knee's good. He said he's as healthy as he's been. Oh, I just want to see him get on the field with that. PG, talk to me, man.
He looks like he looks like a giant triangle. That's,
he really does.
Rowe is humongous up top. I mean, he's not small. I mean, he's got a good lower body too. So, yeah, Rowe is just dirty.
Yeah, ginormous. PG, talk to me.
Let's just move to linebackers and defensive linemen. I don't have anything else to say on the DBs. Like, they just look good, and there's a lot of depth there. So,
lead us on the linebackers then. Let's go.
I'm really excited about the depth here at linebackers. I think Kobe McKenzie looked really good. I'm excited to see him this season. I think probably going to be the backup to Danny Stutzman, and then you've got Deshaun McCullough, and I would assume Kip Lewis will probably fight for a spot there. And then you're going to have Jaron Kanik, Sammy Omasigo, Lewis Carter, all there in the mix, which I would assume Sammy's probably more of a cheetah than playing the Mike and the Will. But I don't know. This linebacker room, this is what OU fans have dreamed of. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
This is what we've dreamed of for the past 10 years.
Yeah, you're right. And seeing Stutzman, he got a few snaps. It feels like, I wonder if they're going to try to preserve him too, right? Preserve him for right for the SEC matchup, and then really unleash him in like Bowman or whatnot. But yeah, linebacker wise, I think we're good. We've got the good thing about the spring game is it gives you that visibility of the players and things you need to hone in on before you move into the fall camp, right? Things to work on, technique, all of that stuff. Summertime, going right into fall camp, and hopefully by fall camp, most of that's fixed. We see that I saw that with Omasigo. He missed on a couple plays, but he looks like he's ready to go, in which I think that's kind of one reason why we unfortunately lost our boy Harrington. It feels like the depth chart is getting big. Kobe McKenzie's huge, and he showed his hugeness. And with Coop pointing out how Caleb Hicks was able to stuff him on a block too, I was watching Kobe go through folks. I jumped out to me. I'm like, all right, this dude might be ready for that rotation. Kip, of course, being Kip. You know what I'm saying? Being everywhere you need him to be. It's going to be the rotations of linebackers is going to be interesting to me, because even adding Deshaun McCullough from quote unquote cheetah / playing like the Will area. It's funny. They weren't even disguising blitzes. He just literally walked up to the line and said, I'm coming. I want you to stop me. Right. And it was funny because Coop pointed this out to me. McCullough went in for a sack. I'm sorry. Jackson Arnold throws it past. And as McCullough's walking away, BV yells at him to come to him. And he points at him like, get your arms out. McCullough looked at him and said, okay. Play or so later, he goes out there and immediately throws his arms up, deflects a pass, and BV looks at him and goes, I'm like, all right. Well, I guess they're fixing the problems on the fly, something you didn't get much of. And shout out to Jaron Canick, man. I feel bad for that man. He has every bit of talent
Dusty did that boy
possible.
wrong.
Yeah, I ain't want to talk about Dusty. We're going to leave that where that is. I ain't want to get into that because that hot mic situation's always awful. It never works out good for the person with the hot mic or the person that's receiving it. Can't yell that out loud, bro.
Isn't it funny? Isn't it funny? Like Thunder about to head into the playoffs, and it reminded me of Can't Play Cantor. Like,
yeah, I can't play him.
And
Yep.
so, obviously people were sending us that stuff, and they were lighting it up. So,
Yep.
I do want to say, and to your point about Stutzman, I think we're going to get that with Woody, Bowman, Stutzman, and maybe even Terry, where like the first 4 games of the season, they will probably play the first quarter, and that's it. Like, you're probably going to see a lot of young guys and them really trying to figure out who's going to take second string and will be your, favorite into the next season. Because those 4 games, you don't need those guys. You shouldn't need those dudes in the first 4 games. And then you bring them in, and all 4 are at different positions, should be healthy, fully ready to go, not gassed. And at that point, Oklahoma should be rolling. So, I really like the depth at the linebacker position, and I think it's going to be even better when we get to the defensive line here in a minute.
I agree with you there. And Chris, I'm going to pass it to you. But Frightening asked this question. The homie, he's a Texas fan, but he pulls up and he's reasonable. Love him to death. But no, he asked us about is Canick's issues kind of like Ford was for them, where like Gabe mentioned how he hoped Ford was on the field, but he looked lost. But then Ford did well for that game and the rest of the season, which he's talking about Red River. To be honest, truth, I do feel like that's a possibility. But the issue you got with it is that he's been in the system for 2 years, right? This is going on year 3. If it clicks, dude's going to be beastly, which I'm going to be honest, Stutzman had a similar problem. Remember, Stutzman kind of was looking kind of lost the first year in BV's system, but then it was like the Iowa State game happened, and he clicked and realized, oh, they're baiting me. And then he got that pick 6, and ever since then, it's like a whole new human being. It's like he figured it out. So for you, to be honest, I'll say this. The way that Brent Venables mentioned how Zach Alley calls the defense different than him, and he kind of simplifies it to help guys figure it out, I think that's going to help Canick long term. But at the same time, it feels like Canick works best with Stutzman. And if he's not with Stutzman, things kind of go a little different. Hopefully it's not the crutch. I think Canick's going to get that. Let's think about it. He's a freakishly athletic dude. When he does great stuff, it's great. And then he just goes from his mistakes really fast on the next time. So I think he can get there. But Chris,
he's thinking too much. I mean, the whole thing is that
100%.
we Jay, I've said this plenty of times. Gotta give another shout out to my uncle. Definitely said the point. He made the point. He's like, hey, Canick is a speed D guy. Canick would have been perfect in the speed D era because you're just telling him go hit somebody. You're not telling him to think, not telling him to think on the fly, keep your head on a swivel, all the rest of these things. You're not telling him to do 10 things before he has to go do the one thing that he's good at, right?
Right.
So the whole thing is that you've seen flashes out there, a la the Cincinnati game. You saw some freakish plays from him to be able to stop the quarterback coming from this angle, that angle, where you're like, yo, like you can't really teach that. That's just really all instinct, right? But the problem is it's just been inconsistent. But as far as the linebacker room or whatnot, I mean, hey, look, I thought you saw really good tackling from them out there. I think still we have some issues with some zone concepts that you did see. But how about that 4-3 look that you got to see yesterday? A little bit, it's a couple of snaps that you saw, and you were like, "Wait a minute, whoa!" And you saw Lewis Carter, McCullough, and then you also saw Danny Stutzman out there together. I think you have a good rotation of guys, and I think that you feel like there's not going to be a letdown or a drop off. I think that if we're in a OSU position again, and as far as Stutzman's out, so now who's starting? I think Kobe McKenzie and then Kip Lewis, and then obviously you're putting McCullough back there as well. I think that's going to help, and I think they're going to be ready for the challenge this year. And I've always said I think Kobe McKenzie is the understudy for for Danny Stutzman. If not, then it would be Kip Lewis. But at the same time, I think those guys are going to be dynamic. Sammy O is going to be fine. He's still it takes time to learn that cheetah position, but it takes time learning two positions as well because they're going to have him all over the field. So, I mean, I think one of the biggest things is it's just for them just to get those reps or whatnot. And it I don't know. I don't know. I really don't want to comment too much on Ken. I got a whole ass video about that, but I think the big thing for me was that I felt good about my linebackers yesterday and what I saw. I don't really need to see Stutzman. I didn't think we were going to see Stutzman out there anyways. I want him to heal up. He's had some nagging injuries anyways from these past 2 seasons. So, I mean, I just want him to be healed up and ready for the season. I don't want him to necessarily sit out 3 quarters or this or that, or only play a half or whatever. I want him to go out there and nail people and hit people and get his reps in, because once we play Tennessee and once we play Auburn, we in the SEC. Like it's no days off. Wale flow. No.
Wale flow, no day off. That's hilarious. But no, and Tyler, you're right. I did see Lewis Carter. That touchdown was on him, right? And it's funny because the play that everybody was yelling at, if I'm correct, it was I think it was Taylor Heim and maybe Lewis Carter are the ones that gave that up. Shout out to guy Stats by Popo. He had pointed that out. It's like that wasn't on Kanik, the one that everybody's freaking out on. I don't think that was his assignment. And so yeah, Kanik's getting a bad rap. I mean, Lewis Carter, he was out there making some moves and stuff, but at the same time, linebacker, I think by the end of the season, they will become our strongest part of our defense. And that is not saying that the secondary will be bad. I'm just saying I think that our linebackers are going to be stupid good as they progress with Zach Alley teaching them how to be a linebacker in a Brent Venables defense where your linebackers is your most important position. Right.
Well, and Deshaun McCullough moving over to the will is going to exponentially make that linebacker room so much better. Like, I think people are going to probably undersell the value of that move.
I can totally see that. Chris, you over here shaking your head. Like, you not thinking the linebacker room is going to step up and become the best?
No.
Okay.
No. They're going to be I think that they have the chance to, you could argue and say that they're most consistent, but I think the best, you're looking at either the D-line or you're looking at the DB room, simply because the guys that we have back there, man. I mean, when you think about Bowman, Bowen, and RSJ, come on, man. The most athletic, strongest secondary that we've had in quite a while. I don't think there's going to be too many bums going over those guys' head.
How do we define that this room is not the best? Because I would like to place a bet on this. How do we define that
you guys are looking at talent opposed to what the production is really going to be? Because
that's what I mean.
Production has been from one guy. I mean, if we really talking about it, I mean, like, obviously, yeah, Kip Lewis, but most of the production was coming from Stutzman last year. I think that when you look at the D line this year, with the parts they have and the pressure that you're going to be able to get, and especially with teams wanting to play you straight up in the SEC, opposed to seeing what you saw last year with guys trying to play the quick game, I think that you have a chance for some of your for your edge guys to really get loose this year.
That's a fair point. Cool.
Our linebackers are good. That's my analysis. Stutzman is Stutzman. You see Kip continue. I mean, Kip is just a playmaker. He's one of those guys that you can't keep off the field. But yeah, Deshaun McCullough doing the will. And when you have, so we're watching the game one time, Deshaun comes in and I was like, Deshaun's coming in the will. And I was like, Deshaun's not disguising that he's coming. He's talking to the quarterback in the offense. Like, he's like, I'm coming. And he wasn't trying to hide it at all. And that's the one where Jay brought up where he blitzed in, and if he puts an arm out, he bats that ball down. It's beautiful. I mean, it is just absolutely beautiful. I got nothing. I mean, Kanik, the problem with Kanik is the fact that you can't have somebody out there that is just going to be good for 2 busts a game. Yeah. And like you just can't do it, especially with, the potential, the potential, season that you have in front. I mean, you just can't. You got too much talent. So if he can't get it mentally, it's just the mental piece because, if you had him rushing all the time, you're worried about him just running right past who he's supposed to tackle. I don't think that Kanik is a bad linebacker. Kanik is the guy who's probably our best linebacker, 3 or 4 years ago, like you said with the speed D. And I hate it. So I hate it for him.
That's a fair point too. That he probably would have been great in that speed D. So I guess the big thing with him is, Kanik, you got this. We all have faith that you're going to figure this out and make it happen and be one of the elites out there. So I'm not that concerned. I'm just gonna say, you figure it out. We have an announcement real quick. We just breaking news. I'm gonna be
there you go. Yeah, that's what I was wanting. That was what.
There you go. There's the tune. The breaking news tune. Dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun. Hopefully that doesn't get me trademark copyright infringed. But 2027 defensive lineman Zane Rowe is committed to Oklahoma. He picks the Sooners over Texas and Georgia, which tells me everything I need to know about, what's going on with this commitment is that, this young man decided to pick us over Georgia. And he loved what happened in the spring game and said that he's ready to do that. Shout out to him. I'm pretty excited to the fact that we've got ourselves a 2027 that committed right here during the show. Hopefully we get something on somebody else that everybody is, of course, talking about in the comments now and excited about. So we're going to go right into defensive line now. We're going to wrap this bad boy up, put a bow on it with the defensive line, and then we'll talk special teams and kick y'all out of here as, kicking is one of the problems that we actually kind of have, it seems like. So, first, defensive line. Look, I'm going to say this. This has kind of been my thought about the entire time. Edges, we've got a great rotation. I'm just ready to see who pops off and becomes a dude. I think one that I don't think he's going to be a surprise for anybody because it seems like he made all kinds of plays in there. It's going to be Caden Woolard. I saw him everywhere when he got his chance on the field. I am very happy that we got him out of Miami, Ohio. And then when we were chopping up with his dad was telling us how he was using his natural ability at Miami, and then when he got here, he's like, you can see that there's more of a technique piece that was going in. And you're like, dang, that's good. Gotta love that, right? That's a big plus. Okoye is going to be scary. He's already like 255-ish. Said he's going to play between that and 260 is his goal, and that's going to be his manageable weight. I stood next to this dude, and I'm just like, that is not fair for you to be that huge of a human being. I sense there's going to be they got to find a way to get him on the field sometimes. PJ was doing his thing. So was R. Mason Thomas. It's crazy. I'm curious to see what the rotation, Ethan Downs. I want to see what the rotation is going to look like on the edges. That's what I'm curious about, how they do it. Because just about all of them is going to find a way to make some stuff happen. When you go in the middle, so BV said this after the game in his presser, David Stone and Jaden Jackson are both over 300 pounds. They weighed in before the game over 300. Yes, if you look at the roster that was put out, it doesn't say that because that's the weight from March 5th. They are both over 300 pounds. So you got three dudes over 300 pounds minimum. I think Sears may be right there. He's 290 minimum, and he's considered the MVP or the most improved player for them throughout camp. G-Baby was out there looking like he's ready to make the next step. All we need now is another Dejon Terry. We need another 315 to 325 dude to really eat up space and cause problems. Coop mentioned this. He was talking, we were talking to one of the parents, how Jaden Jackson, and this is something with all the defensive players, right? They all have done a really good job of fixing their problems immediately. And I'll let Coop tell the story about the play that Jaden Jackson did and how he went one way, got caught up, and then he fixed it on the next play. They're learning fast, and that's the good thing, right? G-Baby's got it. I'm curious to see where Champ Sanders as well as Marcus Strong ends up. They were starting to – I saw some force push out of them too, but it's all about the competition across the field from them. Let's put it that way. I think that defensive line, we add another big body, maybe two, another Dejon Terry basically, we'll be just fine there. 100% just fine. Coop, pass to you. D-line.
Our D line's going to be good. That's all I have. No,
I like
it's
that.
yeah. Caden Willard's going to be a guy. Ethan Downs continues to get better and better and better. And James, I can't remember what I said about Downs last year, but no, I didn't believe in Downs. I thought he was a joke that he was. I thought it was
He's a
just the
Big
same
12
thing as
guy.
yeah, the Guebu thing the year before. I thought it was going to be the exact same. But Ethan Downs, he doesn't make stat sheet plays, but he makes plays a lot. He's learning stuff. So yeah, Jaden likes running him a stunt. And if you see Jaden Jackson during the game, watch what he's doing. So there's one point where he tries a swim move and he goes right into a double team and he just gets held up, right? And so a couple plays later, he sees that double team coming again and he spins out and he's just right there in front of the quarterback and he just taps him and he's down. So adjustments. If the players can make adjustments, yeah, if the players can make adjustments on the fly, it's something that you don't. I mean, we haven't seen in a long time. We got to see Okoye. Nigel Smith was out there running around. G Baby looks like he's finally ready to take that step. Mar Mason looks extremely healthy. So, Chris, you said that you think this is a 10-win team. I mean, outside of stuff that you can't predict happening, I see it. I see it. I mean, it looks good because I said going into last year, we're going to be facing a lot of, first-year quarterbacks this year, and we will. And I promise you, if that, I don't give a damn if it's who on our defense is our best unit. Like, let's work. First things first is every game by game. But this team wants to show up to the SEC and take over with defense. To just absolutely take over with defense. PJ looks like, we've said in the chat here, PJ has an absolute, he's taking steps little by little by little. And if I was him, I would be in yoga all summer long to work on his flexibility. He needs to learn how to, he just needs to learn how to use every weapon available to him. So guys, I think right now we don't want Stone and Jackson really playing 400 snaps this year. Like you want them playing 150 to 200 and rotating in, because in the SEC, you have to have, you're going to have 6 defensive linemen that you can fully, defensive tackles, you need several. You need several. You need guys who can come in and just take a block every once in a while. So if we can have 6 dudes on the inside that are ready to contribute, and 4 or 5 guys on the outside, 6 guys on the outside, that's what you want to see. And you want to see guys dominate and this year get to the quarterback.
Yeah. Chris, D-line, looking at that. How you feeling about them and the continuity? Because somebody pointed out here very well, we didn't really play everybody together.
Uh-huh.
Right? There's a lot of youth on that line. And we do, and you mentioned this a few times, we do need an additional 300. If we got 3 300-pounders, which is solid, I think Georgia has 6, so does Bama. We need to get closer to 5 big guys. So if we can land these transfers that we're trying to woo right now, that's a big deal. But talk to me about that.
Hey, look, first off, I'm going to say this right here. Grayson Halton, after that first drive coming towards kind of the middle of the game, dude, it was night and day. That dude has to be on the field this year. He is, and I want to say this respectfully, but he's an upgraded version of Jacob Lacey. I'm just gonna be honest with you. He can make some noise this year. We already know what we're gonna get from Terry, but you got to go out there and just add depth to that room. I think that one of the things I'm looking for with Stoney, I need Stoney to really kind of continue to improve his body, which obviously he's gained the weight, but now it's time to really kind of let's fill this out. Let's figure out how we want to chisel this out. But 2, I need Stoney just to keep working on the technique and all the rest of that stuff. He has the talent. He has all the rest of those things, and he should be on the field this year. Him and Jaden Jackson love seeing the stunt game, different things like that. What I will say is that I like Champ Sanders out there too. I thought D line you looked pretty good. Those guys are fighting. Those guys are fighting, and the interior is where the battles were really at during the game yesterday. If we're going to stretch it out outside, this is one thing I will say. People, please do not sleep on the fact that you have a healthy Trace Ford this year. Not a Trace Ford that's taking mental reps, not really fitting into the whole script, not knowing the plays, all the rest of that stuff. No, you have a Trace Ford this year. I think Trace Ford is going to be exactly what they wanted Stripling to be last year, but Stripling was obviously injured, different things that came up. Trace Ford is going to be that guy that's kind of like the odd man in the rotation that comes out there, and you're like, wait a minute, that's Ford, and he's going to make noise.
Yeah.
You saw a glimpse of it early on in that UCF game when they could not stop him. I saw it again this week. I mean, the good dude is really good with his hands. He's savvy. He's a vet. I think this is a year where you can see some really good production from him. And I'm not talking about starting production. I'm just talking about guys to where getting us to the point to where it's not a huge fall off when an R. Mason Thomas or those guys are not out there, right? I saw R. Mason Thomas. He made some plays. A lot of people were really pleased with him. Stay healthy, please. PJ,
stay healthy, please. Yeah,
out there, man, it's just getting that bend. I think Taylor Wine is another guy that I liked yesterday. Only thing I would say about him is that, hey, you just have to continue learning how to play with that weight on you now. Because when you were in high school, it was easy to bend and do different things like that because you're 6'6", kind of slender, kind of, a little bit smaller build. But now that you have that weight on you, just continue to learn how to apply that technique and you're going to be fine. I think D-line is going to be fine, man. I literally left there saying, man, it was a lot of doomer and gloomers. There wasn't no boomer sooners out there. It was like it felt really good yesterday. It felt really good because I was like, hey man, our defensive line for what we don't have a Gerald McCoy out there, but we got a bunch of lunch pail guys, and I'm good. I'm definitely okay with that. I'm definitely okay with that.
PG, bring us home.
Yeah. So edge guys, not really worried about that. Going into the spring game, I really looked at the edge room and I said, Oklahoma's going to get what they get. Like, we got 5-star PJ Adebawore there. I think we were going to see him a little bit more. And actually, he impressed me a little bit in the spring game because we didn't get to see a whole lot of him last year. But I was really looking and I was focused on some of these interior guys, specifically guys that we did not see last year, like a Devon Sears. This was a guy that came in from Texas State, and I think some of us had hopes that, hey, like if this guy gets up to the right weight, maybe. I think our expectations, or at least my expectations last year for Sears, were a little bit preemptive, and I think this year he's going to be a really solid rotational piece, and you saw it yesterday. Like, he was getting into the backfield. I think he had 1 or 2 QB hurries, but he had a couple tackles in there as well, and I believe shared or even got his own sack. So I believe Devon Sears is going to be a good key rotational piece on that defensive line. And then just seeing David Stone and Jaden Jackson out there, right? We've heard so much in the scrimmages and the practices, like they look really good, but to actually be able to see it with my own eyes and to be able to see those two and how physically ready that those two dudes look. Like, I think that was probably one of the bigger takeaways, was seeing those 2 true freshmen on the defensive line look ready to go out and play with some of the big boys in the SEC. So
yeah,
I think the defensive line is a crucial piece, not only to just the defense being successful this year, but also on the recruiting trail, because we know there's still some depth issues there, and you would hope you're going to get that fixed through the transfer portal. But if David Stone and Jaden Jackson go out there and show out, I mean, obviously they look the part. I think that helps. But if they go out there and show out this season, it's going to expedite your recruiting efforts. So I was really impressed with the interior defensive line. I think it looked a lot better than I expected it to. And I was telling you at the softball game, I said, If Oklahoma lands Williams and Lole, you probably lose one dude in that room, and it's probably going to be a Strong or a Sanders. But even if you lose one of those two and you get both of those guys, this defensive line will be elite.
Yeah, I think the
guys,
additions are key. Go ahead, Coop.
We saw a ton of Marcus Strong early, and that surprised me. And what did was it Heim is number 44? I mean, he looks. Jay said, "Who's number 44?" And I said, "Clint Ingram." And he was like, "Oh, you're so stupid." And I was like, "No, that's Heim." And he looked good. But I think we've covered this. I just want to give a shout out for our boy Wurzy for hitting the same amount of field goals as the OU football kickers. So, guys, I apologize if you have. Listen, these barely athletic heathens, as I posted in the chat, I cannot control these guys. They say that it was one of the biggest frustrations besides Hawkins not having a great day statistically. The kickers have had a great year. I mean, both Keltner and the other guy. I'm just going to leave it there. And Liam, they've all been doing good. So I think that our punting is going to be fine. They were rotating Logan in there with Elzinga. Elzinga, we know when he really dove in, he kicked the crap out of the ball. So we'll see. I mean, maybe if we just score touchdowns every time, we don't need a kicker.
Yeah, so Zach Schmidt hit one of his field goals. He was 1 for 1, 29 yards, but Tyler missed his. He was 0 for 1. Liam made his 2-point afters, his PATs. Mm-hmm. Actually, we were 6 for 6 on the PATs, by the way. But Liam didn't actually kick any field goals, so it's kind of the only thing that bothered me a little bit. I want to see him kick a field goal so we can see what we got, because that's the one that everybody's been hyping up, right? The more kid, the one that's got a boot. As we go in here and we start slandering the kicking game, there's the problem with everything, right? We've synced them make these 50s and 55-yarders in practice. Until you get to an actual game situation, we have no clue what it's going to look like, and it sucks. They're actually making them in practice. It's not like they're missing them in practice. That's the problem. If they were missing them in practice, I would totally be on the doom with everybody else. But they're making them. And then they're not making them now. So what it appears is we just got to get them out there, kicking some field goals. Hopefully we don't kick any field goals against Temple or Houston or Tulane. They may not get an opportunity. It's the problem.
When that first kick was missed, did anybody notice anything? Did y'all notice that the crowd sounded like an 80s sitcom? Whenever they was like,
Yep.
What's going on? Like, you're like, hey, look, I put my head in my hands and said, I don't know. Maybe we should. My uncle, he reached over to me, grabbed me, he said, we need to get in the portal now. He said, we need a kick. I said, I don't know. I
mean, we've got like 6. Something's got to be figured out here, right? And we just have to see what happens. I don't think it's fair to slander all of it because we don't know yet. It's still in we're still waiting, right? We're still waiting for we got to wait until we've got to wait until
all I got to say is this right here. All I got to say is this. I need a kicker. Okay, because the first thing that pops into my mind is 2018, and I'm gonna leave it there. If you
I know.
Listen.
Anyway,
listen. We missed a goddamn field goal. One field goal in an exhibition game. I'm sorry for the language, but if you are losing your shit and saying our special teams are going to be dog crap because we missed one field goal in an expedition in a stadium that it was like 50 degrees and the wind was blowing, like, oh my gosh, that is typical. That's the definition of our reaction.
I don't want to hear that. I knew
it was coming. I knew it was going to come. Go ahead.
Get there last year with your stomach feeling uneasy. Your uncle calling you saying, man, he about to miss. Oh my God. I need to feel confident. I need to knock away from the screen every time a kicker comes out there on the field for OU. It's bad.
Listen. No. Listen. this is a good thing. If our kicking is so bad, then all of a sudden we go for it on 4th down every time.
Listen, I'm just sad because I actually wasn't paying attention during the missed field goal kick, so I didn't get to post my Chicken Little meme where he's up in the tower ringing the bell, yelling the sky is falling, because that's literally what happened to OU Twitter when the field goal was missed. The sky is falling.
It's over, guys. We're done. We're gonna shut down the program now because we missed the field goal. But I'll say this though, keep it, being all seriousness, I do think we still have work there. The good thing is that we've got like 6. We've still got the high schooler coming in also. So if they're making them in practice, that's with pressure. That is kind of the thing. If they're making them, we just got to see it in the game. I think we will. But we got a lot of dudes to rotate through. That's the thing. We got a lot of dudes to rotate through. And if we go in the portal and bring another one in, then that tells you right there that we are working on it. But we still got a high schooler coming that is, I don't think he wasn't an early enrollee. So, yeah.
Hey, we had a 5-star kicker on campus for the big recruit. So just so everybody's aware, we're still recruiting kickers. Even though we got a 5-star kicker, we're still recruting them. Because we had another one on campus this week.
We're trying because we're desperate. So
I think that every time a kicker misses, they got to run Oklahoma drill with Kobe McKenzie, Jaden Jackson, and Boganowski. Or Boganowski just Happy Gilmore's every single time they kick. He just runs off the sideline and just drills them.
That's not nice.
No, we just need to bring back Old Smitty, and they just need to run the stairs. You know what? And I get it, we don't have the south end zone anymore, but they can run all the other stairs. Just start making them run the stairs again. They'll learn really quickly, because I've heard those are terrible.
That is hilarious.
We don't have to panic about the kicker, guys. We just don't have to like if we're 3 games in, then we can do that. But we missed 1 field goal. I mean, it's we love if they would have hit it. Would you rather them miss it and worry about it and then we turn out to be good, or would you rather him make that and then we feel good about it and they suck again?
You know what? Really going to make Sooner Nation panic is when we roll out Zach Schmidt for the first field goal this season.
Everybody's going to lose their mind. And on that note, we're going to wrap this bad boy up. Hey, we're done. We've got an hour and a half. I knew it was going to be a long one because everybody had great opinions and great thoughts on this one. No reason for the sky to fall. The good thing is that a couple of tweaks here and there. Fall camp's going to be fun. Just know that. Fall camp is when everything's going to go down. The Thunder play tonight. Going to go watch the game with PG. Chris coming up the chalk. You ain't got nothing else to do with your life. Go ahead and drive it to Oklahoma City. Thank y'all for pulling up to the channel. Please like, subscribe, rate, review. Give us 5 stars and think we deserve it. Give us 5 anyway. Go check out the PG show. Show him the same love. Do the same thing for the Horns Down podcast. We've always keeping the horns down around here. Even for my Texas fans, we love y'all. But yeah, with that, we will chop it up with every single one of y'all in videos over the next week. Very soon.
Thunder up.
Thunder up.
Thunder up.
Peace.